Hello, bookish people. Welcome to another episode of the Meet Your Author podcast, where we celebrate African authors and have bookish conversations. I'm your host, Rachel Chiza. Today, I'm honored to host Lillian Tindyebwa, who is a Ugandan author. She holds an MA in literature from Makerere University. She's the founder member of FEMWRITE, Uganda Women Writers Association. She's the executive director of the Uganda Faith Writers Association and Quiet Garden Publishing. She also works as a lecturer of English and literature at Kabale University. Recipe for Disaster is her first novel, which was published in 1994 and is currently used as a reader in secondary schools in Uganda. Her other works are mainly short stories published by FEMWRITE Publications Limited. Lillian is married to Stephen, or is it Stefan?
Stephen.
Stephen, and they have 5 children. She lives in Kampala, Uganda. Welcome, Lillian.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
It's so nice to have you here.
Yeah, I'm also very happy to be here.
Okay, so the reason why you're here is for us to talk about your very first novel, Recipe for Disaster, which is making 30 years this year in September. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
How does it feel? Let's even just start from there. How does it feel to have your work being read for 30 years?
I'm just amazed that 30 years have passed since that book came out. But it has. What is making me specifically happy is that this book is still popular.
Yeah.
And even now it is still selling. And they are using it in schools. And then having stayed for such a longish time, I get many people who have read it and they are very happy to speak to me, and they always have good words about it.
That's amazing. What is Recipe for Disaster about?
Okay, so this is the story of Helen in Italy. Helen is a young girl, still a student, a secondary school student, and she's a girl who succumbs to peer pressure and through making the wrong friends. And she is persuaded by her friend to leave school. And this friend introduces her to boyfriends or men. And she ends up getting a man who's very rich, and I think it's the money and whatever he can offer that attracts her. So she gets persuaded. She makes this impulsive decision and she leaves school. But she has no idea because she's very inexperienced. She's naive and inexperienced. She doesn't know that there are always traps. So for a time, life is like a fairy tale. She thinks she has made it. But of course, she doesn't know the traps that are there. So after a few years, she begins to see the other side. And things turn around completely. And she finds herself not able to cope. In the meantime, because this man has many women, she found him with 3 wives, and now he has added on another girl after Helen. So he's a good candidate for HIV/AIDS, and so he has it, and she finds herself with HIV/AIDS. And because this man is not her age mate, she is tempted to go with another man, a young man, who is the son of her husband's friend. And this boy lives in London because now she has the money, she can fly to London, she can do what. So she has a relationship with this boy. And one day when she flies to London, because she is upset with her husband, she stays there for some time and she gets pregnant. And she comes back and wants to pretend that the child, the pregnancy is her husband's. But of course, that will be proved But also when she is there, still her naive nature had deceived her that she would probably make a better relationship with this man, this young man. Then she finds out that he actually is not so interested in her, because he already has a fiance. So she gets a lot of issues there, and she comes back, and when it is time to give birth, she gives birth to a child who is a mixed race. So that causes her a lot of problems. And she is sickly, the child is sickly. So Helene's life is tragic, and she dies at the end. So basically that.
For anyone listening, this conversation is going to be full of spoilers, so we are sorry to spoil it for you. But usually, I think it's best to hear from, because I don't know about you, after 30 years, I don't know if a writer ever forgets their story. I don't know for you if you've had to, just go back and reread what you wrote in 1994 and think that, maybe I can make changes here and there, or I could have written this better, or is everything okay the way you wrote it back then?
I wouldn't like to change anything.
Okay. Okay.
When I look at it, even a person cannot remember everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and there are sometimes you turn the page and say, really? Did I write this?
Okay. And what led to the writing of this novel in 1994?
Surprisingly, I had always thought I would write.
Oh, really?
Yes, yeah. I used to think about writing. Even when I was in secondary school, I remember I had like an exercise book, and I would try to jot down some things, but I wouldn't continue. I don't know for what reason, but it was always at the back of my mind. So around, it came out in 94, but this book got completed in 92. I finished writing it in 92. And I took it to Fountain, and they took it. They said, yes, they're going to publish it, but they took a bit long to bring it out. So actually, it should have come out a little earlier, but it was okay. It came out. So when I thought about, so that must have been around 91 when I was thinking about writing. Yeah. So this idea just came. I said, no, why don't you write? Why don't you write this book? So I started now. Okay, before that, I started getting thoughts in my mind. If you have something to say, how do you say it? Yeah. How do you say it? Then I thought, sometimes people go talking, speaking, but that's not possible. I can't do that. And sometimes they write essays, then the word write. So I said, can I write an essay? So I started writing, but eventually I said, no, let me make it the book that I've always wanted to write. That's how it came to my mind. Yes. So
I'm wondering, because in your profile, it says that this was published by Fountain Publishers in Uganda as young readers. And for anyone who does not live in Uganda, what does that mean? So we contextualize that for the people who are listening. What does that mean? That your book is among the young readers series? What does that mean now, or what did it mean back then?
What it meant back then is still what it means now. What it means, if a book is for young readers, that means like the main character, in this case Helen, and probably a few more characters will be young people.
What is there an age gap on the young people? Is it like 15 to 18?
Yes, 12, 13, 14, around there to 18 or 20. Yeah, so people who are like in secondary school. Yes. And then the themes and the topic should be relevant to young people. For example, now this is school. This is somebody, you expect her to be in school, but she's getting out. She wants to do things that she shouldn't be doing now. And all her friends are the same age. And okay, we give her parents and all that, but those are not the major. Of course, she has to support. Those are supporting characters.
Yeah.
Yes. So it must be relevant to the young people.
Yeah.
That's why it is classified as a reader for young people.
Okay. And how long did it take you to write the novel?
Ah.
And also the themes that you explore, which are really, really powerful for the young readers, not only in 1994, but even now in the 2000s.
Yes.
Would one say that those were the prevailing issues at the time? Because we have, there's, of course, the case of HIV, cross-generational sex, which when I was reading the book again, it reminded me, it reminded me of that campaign that the government did some years ago about cross-generational sex and how, you know, they were trying to sensitize or raise awareness around it, and thinking that even back then that could have been something that was happening. Yeah, but yeah, just tell us how long did it take you to write the novel, and then we can go into the themes as well.
Okay. By the way, this book didn't take me long. It was like when I started writing, everything was just flowing like a story.
Okay.
Yeah, but also I was writing almost every day.
Wow.
Yeah, I was writing every day. I felt an inspiration that I had not known was there. So I was writing every day, and I remember we were writing by hand. I didn't write. I didn't have an available a computer or laptop that I could use. I wasn't even very good at that. I was just still learning. So I didn't try. So I would write, and then I got some lady to type for me who had something like a secretariat.
Okay.
Yeah, so it took me like 6 months really to finish the manuscript.
Wow.
It took me 6 months. I had finished, and yeah, I typed it. Then she typed it. Then I went through it again. I kept changing a few things. Then I think within 9 months I was ready to look for publishers.
Okay.
Maybe something they don't know. I had a friend who was a lecturer at Makerere who was, what is his name? His name is Amot somebody. So I took it to him to read through for me. And he said, "No, this is a very good book. You send it to," that time there was Heinemann African
The
writer
African Writer Series.
yes. So I said, "You send it to them. They should be able to publish this book." But okay, I did. But they told me that your book is too moralistic. It's not what we would publish.
What does that even mean? That the book is too moralistic.
Yeah, you know, white people, the way they think people should be free, they shouldn't show like Helen being affected by that kind of behavior.
Oh,
For them, they
okay.
don't want to address such things. Yeah, but in Africa, we do. So anyway, I said, no problem. So then I went to Fountain, and Fountain, they read through and they said, this is fine. So they accepted to publish it.
Okay.
Yes.
And we'll get to that on how Fountain comes into the picture. But talking about the themes that you explore, were those the prevailing themes at that time? Were those the prevailing issues that maybe the young generation was facing at that time?
Yes.
Okay.
You see, some of those issues are there, have been there, and they are still there. Yeah, except maybe to what degree. And I think they are getting more and more instead of less and less. Yeah, I think we still have, as you said, the cross-generational relationships.
Yeah.
And the not being faithful, like the man is not faithful
Yeah.
to this young lady whom he takes from school, and then
Peer pressure as
peer
well.
pressure, yeah, peer pressure. She's listening to people. She's a young girl, so she's still naive. How can you get rid of naivety at that age? And what else do we have?
I think also when it comes to even the familiar relationships,
Yeah,
because
family.
yeah, the relationship she has with her parents or even with her mother, it's that also is to be discussed. And like was saying earlier, I really like books that always have that element of mother-daughter relationship because it. I mean, mothers are so integral to a child's life that for so many people there are too many dynamics around that, and I like it when authors always explore whatever dynamic it is they choose to explore. So it was also great seeing Helen and her mother, and it's just how they were getting along in the novel or in the story.
There is also a little bit of the cultural
Yeah.
approach because this man had the courage, like, tried to go to the parents to talk
Yes.
to them, but they told him no,
Yeah.
they couldn't. So they stood their ground. So according to the tradition and what, you're a man, you have 3 wives, and now you are coming to add on my teenage daughter, and you have the guts to come to me. So they didn't go along with that. So
Yeah.
they thought the girl would listen, but and then we still have those, they call them the predators, who want to just get the young people and spoil them and then continue. So that kind of thing is also still there. And then they call it the instant gratification that Helen
Yeah.
wanted. So it wasn't, she should have waited. She should have waited and finished her school. Things will always be there, but she didn't want to listen to that. So she was attracted by the glitter and the glaze of life, and she didn't know that it was a trap. So we, yeah,
Okay.
all those, they are
Yeah.
still, they are still there.
Yeah.
They're still there.
It's amazing how a book written in 1994 still carries the same exact themes. It's like so many things have changed, but yet still so many things have remained the same. Like we're still grappling with the same things, just in a different year and maybe in a different context. Yeah, so writers are so important.
Yeah, it's so important. They kind of capture the atmosphere, the
Yeah.
prevailing. And one thing, I don't want to sound political, but there has been a kind of, there are many complaints that people have, but there has been kind of steady growth in Uganda as compared to the past, because Uganda had broken down with wars, and Uganda since independence had not been stable. So you couldn't say that somebody, you couldn't say one thing was developing, because it was always being interrupted by other things.
Yeah.
But now, no matter what people are saying, but there has been some, we haven't had a war in Kampala, like you have to run out. The schools have continued. We study, people have, from that time, they are studying, they reach Makerere, they go to work, they go abroad, they come back. So that kind of thing helps us to, there are things that are good, that are continuing, but there are also the bad things that, like if you like a good life, you will go to the nightclubs are there. So the nightclubs can be a good way to relax, but they can also be a ground for Helen to be to be taken off her course, you know. So there is something that happens because of the general atmosphere that is prevailing, the conditions that are prevailing. So we have had that steady for the last, those 30 years and a little more. Yeah, so we see the growth,
Yeah.
and the stability, maybe the education and so on. It may not be a very good education, but I finish my school. I start and I finish. But before that, it was not, we're not so sure. So all those have contributed to what is happening, and it's continuing. So what was there then is still there, but it is growing. People young people are doing that.
Yeah.
Are still doing the same thing.
Yeah. Okay. So in the book, you use dreams to move the plot along, which I found interesting as culturally and also religiously, we believe that dreams are very important and should not be taken lightly. So you're always hearing people, oh, I dreamt about this, and then they'll say, oh, it means this. You dreamt about a cow or a dog chasing you. There's always something that it means.
interpretation.
Yeah, there's always an interpretation. And while I was reading the book, I wondered why, for you in your book, you chose to use that particular technique in the different pages or the different points that you use it.
Yeah. Dreams, as you have said, they have an interpretation. Especially if you go back to the Bible, you'll find that this one dreams, and then it is interpreted as they are going to be famine in the next 7 years and so on. So they fuel expectation. So if somebody is reading the book and like at the beginning you have this dream, these girls were sort of getting into a problem, but she has a dream. And it is telling you that something is going to happen. So you would be interested as the reader to know, oh, what does that mean? Just like when you get a dream and you want to know, you want to tell your friend.
Exactly.
So that your friend can tell you, okay, maybe your dad is going to buy you a car.
Yes, please.
or maybe your boyfriend is going to give you a problem. So you want to have, it helps us to have some expectation. And so that makes the story, I do believe, more captivating.
Yes.
Because now you are trying to find out.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
Yeah.
so for that reason, that is why. And I like the mystery that it creates. Yeah, I like the dreams. I always enjoy the dream if it's in there. To read a book which has a dream.
Oh, really? I don't think I'd
There are
actually
not
ever
many.
paid attention to it.
There are
Yeah,
not
because
so
I know
many.
usually people use so many different techniques to signpost things. But yours caught my attention. It's like, okay, right from the beginning, there's a dream, and also somewhere again in the book, there's a dream. Okay. So when I got to the end of the book, I was like, oh, I get it. Now I understand why the dreams were important at the points that they were shown. Okay. And then right now, because we already established that A Recipe for Disaster is for young readers, and I would like to know, from your perspective, is writing for young readers different from writing novels for adults? Because I know you've done short stories, and the short stories were not for young readers per se. Yet with A Recipe for Disaster, it was very targeted that this particular book is for young readers. Is there a difference in writing for young readers and writing for adults?
Yeah, I have one short story. Just give me that one, then I'll show you which one it is. That paper. Looking for my mother is also can be put in that category.
Okay.
For young people. So the difference, as I had mentioned a little earlier, is that for the young people, you must remain within the confines of what interests them. Because as I always say, young people love themselves. Yeah. Yeah, that is why you see Chagulanyi became popular with the young people to go political. So young people love themselves and they are so easily taken up. So if you want a book, or if you think you're going to write a book that you want them to like and to read, then you have to make they call him the protagonist or the main character to be their age group.
Yeah, to appeal to them.
Yeah, to appeal to them. And even if you are writing for the younger ones, let's say you are writing for those below 12, still you make that character of that and many of the other, because he or she cannot be 12 and then have a friend who's 20 or 35. It wouldn't work unless it's his dad or his uncle who is helping him in something.
Yeah.
So the story will have to revolve around their interests, what they are doing, the teenage life. Like now we see Helen, what they are calling things she has never done, and they are now appealing to her. They glitter. They become, her life becomes like a fairy tale. So, and that is the kind of thing that young people want to see. But at the same time, maybe what I didn't say when you told me what led me to write, I wanted also something with a message.
Oh.
Yeah, I wanted so much to have a message that. So my message is in the, even in the title.
Yeah.
Because you see what is happening to this girl, and know that
It's
this,
a recipe for disaster.
you try this and it will be danger, it will be tragic for
Yeah.
you. So that is the message that I wanted to put across with that story.
Okay.
So for young, so it was specifically for young people because of the age of Helen and her friends and everything that happens.
Okay. And because this is something I think I asked earlier before we started recording, when are you writing? Are you planning on writing any novel, or are you already, in the process? Do you have drafts upon drafts of novels?
No, yeah, time is always a problem.
Yeah.
Because as we normally say, you have to make ends meet. So you find you're spending more time on trying to survive. But I do have things I am working on. And the one is a historical novel. A historical novel about, because now this is Uganda.
Yes.
And we are turning 62. 62 since independence. So I'm going to focus on that. It's going to be a historical novel, and it may not necessarily be for young people. Yeah, it will be for general readership.
Yeah.
But also, secondly, we wanted to talk. I told you that when I was discussing with some students, they had started a sequel for Recipe.
Yes.
And then and I told you that so we had agreed to bring Susie and continue the story from there. So
Yes.
that one is also, I've been writing some notes on that.
Okay. I hope that happens, because it would be great to continue the book, at least to see some of the characters and how they've grown with us. Because now Susie would be 30 or 30 something.
Should be
So,
50s.
so it would be good
40s
to see.
probably.
Yeah. It would be good to see how she's fared. And if she has a partner, if she has a child, how they're faring and how life turned out for her. I would be looking forward to reading that. And why I asked if you're working on any projects, which would be maybe adult related, is to see how, or maybe to just understand for you whether it's what's easier to do. Is it to write for young readers or to write for adults, or it doesn't matter?
No, actually, the young ones, I don't know, for some reason, I find it easier. I think because I've been there and I'm looking back.
Okay.
So, and I know where the good things are and the not so good things. I see it from a mother's point of view, and so I find it more interesting, probably, rather than writing a general one of
Okay.
adults.
I get that. And you mentioned that with Fountain Publishers, because they published the book in 1994, but you got back the publishing rights for A Recipe for Disaster.
Yes.
Could we talk about that? How that happened, and why you decided that, it's time that that I get my rights back and publish the book independently. What was the journey like, and why did you go back and get your rights?
Okay. I looked at it, and it came to my notice that okay, this is going to be 30 years in 2024. I think I started looking at it and counting back around 2019. I said, oh, this book is going to be 30 years. And it has done well, but it has not so well. Not so well, on the other hand, as you would expect, because, okay, first of all, let me deal with the 30 years. So I wanted to celebrate. I wanted to say, okay, now this book is still popular. And having been teaching in the university,
Yeah.
I get so many everywhere. You enter the class and they say, oh, Recipe for Disaster. I mean, almost half the class have read it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a time I had a class and we had downstairs and upstairs so I was teaching them. Some were sitting upstairs. Then immediately when I finished, this girl ran downstairs and she had written a note, like a full page, telling me about Recipe for Disaster, how she's happy to see me, how she has always wanted. I said, goodness gracious, how did she know I was the one? Because it was our first class and I had probably introduced myself.
Yes.
But I never used to talk about the book. It's only that when they hear the name, then they relate it. So, but I said, now I need to celebrate the 30 years. And if I want to celebrate, if it still belongs, the rights belong to somebody, I'll not be able to do what I need because I have to get permission from them all the time.
Yes.
And I have to ask them, can we do this? Can we do this? Probably they'll say we don't have money, we are not in a position, our program is not allowing that kind of thing. So I said, now that I'm going to 30 years, I'm going to start writing to them. So I started communicating with them, and eventually they accepted. But another point was also there was a lot of pirating. So you do realize that this book has been popular.
Yes.
Has been popular for that level. Many schools have it. Many schools have it in the library. But when these people, those pirates, they are too fast. They reach there before you. Now, even though that book you read in your library, I don't know, it could have been.
It was not pirated. I think they bought it from Fountain.
So they were selling more, I think, than the original.
Okay.
So I said, now I will need to do it myself, see the pit holes, and see how we can, since it will be just my book, I will see how I can reduce on this pirating.
Yes.
Let not the thieves or these people benefit from my book more than myself. Yeah. So that was also another factor that made me get so interested. So I kept approaching Fountain Publishers until we agreed.
Okay.
So it was only early last year, 2023, that they finally said it's okay.
And how long did you write to them before they said yes? Was it in 2020, 2021?
2020. I know it was before COVID.
Okay.
Could have been 2019 or 2020 there.
And why do you think it took long for them to say, fine, we can give you back your rights?
They were also reluctant. They were not, it wasn't like, they were reluctant, and I kept on pushing. Then they told me, we have just ordered a new batch, let it come. And so they made me buy the batch.
Oh. Oh. Wow. I mean, it's a publishing house after all. They have to make money.
They have to make their money. I understand. They couldn't lose because they couldn't have thrown it away. And then they said it also took a bit long because they said we had ordered these books and they're on the way. Now you want your book. But these books are coming. So let them come. They had told me wait. Yeah, they told me wait. Wait, give us like 2 years and then we'll have sold them off. But it didn't happen. They delayed and things like that. But finally, when we met, I said, now we cannot keep saying, wait, sell the books. How long are they going to be to stay? And even knowing that they are pirates who are making their own books, they're photocopying and printing, I don't know from where. So eventually they accepted.
Probably from NASA.
From NASA Road.
Okay, and now that you got the rights back and have made, because the current book that we have in our hands, it has a new cover. And that led me to wondering, how is there, content wise, is there anything you've changed as as you reissue the book? Is Helen described differently? Have you added something or taken some things out, or is everything still the same, just with a different book cover?
It's apart from the cover, there's nothing else.
Okay.
Because if you change, that means you are going to like start afresh. So I didn't want to do that. I don't have a quarrel with the content right now.
Okay.
All I wanted was just to take it under myself.
Okay.
Yeah, so nothing has changed. The content is the same.
Okay, that's good to know. For anyone listening and you read the book back in the day, be rest assured that the story is still the
story
same.
is the same.
It's just the cover that has changed.
If you liked it, you can buy it for somebody else.
Absolutely. I encourage you to buy it for someone else so they can read it. Okay, and how did it feel during the process of reissuing the book? What was it like for you going back to this story that you wrote 30 years ago, and now you're reissuing it? But also, how did you, in terms of working with the designer for the book cover, how did you settle on what you have now, where you're like, okay, I think this is it? Usually, I've worked on a few publications, and you have as many samples as possible before you sit on the final product. For you, what was it like just getting to this issue, this cover, and saying, okay, this is what I want to go with moving forward?
Okay, I didn't have a lot of problems because I asked somebody to help me with the design.
Yeah.
So he had like 2 or 3. So, and this color, I think, was much better than the green that it had. So when he suggested this, I saw that it was fine. And the picture, it was okay. It will do for now.
Yeah. For now. So should we say that you're planning to change it 40 years later?
Not even 40 years, probably. Maybe in the next 10 years or so.
Okay.
If it's still doing well, we shall change.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Can change the cover again.
Okay. And now that, you've gotten back your rights, you've reissued the book. In September this year, you'll be celebrating 30 years of A Recipe for Disaster being out. What does the future look like for this book in particular?
For this book, what I'm thinking is that the future is going to be bright.
Okay.
Yeah, because there are many people who have read it and out there, and I would like them to know that we are going to be issuing a program. We haven't yet finalized. Yeah, but there will be so many things that we want to do, but I wouldn't like to talk about them now. But people like you, Rachel, will know, and maybe you'll help us to publicize it. But there is going to be a documentary. There will be going to be a documentary about it, and then some other things, and then eventually by September we should have done like 3 different things, and then we'll have the final.
Amazing. So, in short, without you giving us too many details, as they're still under works, there's going to be a celebration.
Yeah.
For for all of us who have enjoyed the book over the years, to just connect, and if we can attend physically, great. But if we can't, to just be online and say, yeah, we read that book and it impacted us. Okay, we look forward to that, because it's really, really exciting. 30 years of a book.
Yeah, even in the documentary, I hope to reach out some of those people I have talked to.
Yeah.
Just like even a few months ago, I had somebody calling me from Rwanda. Rwanda, a young man, and telling me, oh, I was on the internet and I saw your name. I know I read your book and I liked it. So I just said, let me call you. I said, yeah.
Is your phone number on the internet
I
that
don't
anyone
know.
can
So I
access
think
you?
he was looking at Kabbalah University.
Oh, okay.
He was looking at Kabbalah University. I think he wanted to know something about. Then he saw my name. Then everything is there.
Makes sense.
Mm.
I thought your phone number was out there on the
No,
website.
he got it from the website of Kabbalah University.
Okay, good to know. Okay, we've already gone over that you're doing you're writing some novels, so we won't even go back to that. But do you have, now that you're having, say, a full circle moment where your novel has been living, because it's a living thing,
It's a living thing.
30 years now, and you've also been writing consistently, but also you're teaching at Kabbalah University English and literature. What tips would you give writers now? Because you've gained such a wealth of experience in writing and teaching as well. But yeah, what tips would you share with the writers? Maybe those who are just beginning out and they're saying, I've read this book, it's amazing. I want to write also a recipe for disaster. But also the ones who have written, say, a recipe for disaster and they just, are trying to figure out how to get to that second book or third book.
Okay, thank you very much. And the first thing I would say, you cannot be a writer if you don't read.
Okay.
You have to be, they call it voracious.
Yeah, a voracious reader.
Yeah, you have to read. Read anything. Read magazines, read other novels, read poetry, read newspapers, just read and feed your mind.
Yeah.
Read consciously, knowing that, okay, I'm reading this. Because sometimes you are reading a newspaper and you see something like in that short story of mine, which is Looking for My Mother. I read a story like that.
Yeah.
I read it's about a young girl also who gets pregnant and she gives birth. Young people can get pregnant and you don't even know she's pregnant. And then she throws the baby in the latrine. But the baby is saved.
I've seen so many stories
So many
like that
stories.
on TV.
Yeah, there are many.
In the local news, yeah.
So that time, I think it was also that one. That short story actually was before Recipe for Disaster.
Okay.
Actually, it was my first story. Yeah. So I said, okay, let me make a story out of this. So I wrote something around that. So like now, recently, we have. Now all these are negative. We have been having a lot of murders.
Yeah.
And even women killing their husbands. There is a newspaper I kept at home. There are two people who have been killed by women, and they are both on the front page. One was a doctor in Wayne Hoima, and one was this other businessman who was being filmed.
Yeah, the recent story in the news.
They are recent. And then we had this other murder of the clan leader, of Ndiga, clan leader. So then so many. So, there must be a story behind that. There must be something one can write. What is causing all that? Why?
So for you, saying that's all inspiration, right? Reading gives you inspiration.
Yes. Now, if somebody reads newspapers, you can't say, okay, now I've been thinking of a topic. What topic can how can somebody fit in here?
Yeah.
How can I fit a character around here? Is he the police spy? Is he is he the lawyer?
Yeah. Oh, the detective trying to find out why these women killing their husbands.
These women killing their husbands. Women have not been killing that much, but it's becoming a bit worrying. So
okay.
So you read, and it is important. Then secondly, be observant, just like I have said. Be observant, look around yourself. When you're going to work, when you're on the road, just be observant. Is it the woman in the market? Is it the little boy crossing the road? Is it like some of us who have been living in Kabale? Now it's no longer that cold, but you could see the little boy taking to school very early in the morning in the cold, in the freezing cold. And he said, my God, what is this kid saying? So there are things you see and you feel them touch you.
Yeah.
So you can always you have to be observant. Or is it the environment? There are a lot of caveras around and so on. So, and then establish a writing routine. If you start writing, then you write. You write and say. So you don't write now and forget it, and then you resume in June and so on. The other story will have gone, and then don't think that you know. You try to learn more. Don't think that you know everything, even if Recipe for Disaster has come out, but you can still learn something more. Mm. There is, you can learn a different way of writing, or you can say, let me now do a detective. How do you do a detective? And so on. And even your language. Language, so you do that. And then you be disciplined.
Yeah. Oof. I don't know. I mean, earlier on you mentioned that when you were writing a recipe for disaster, for those 6 months you were writing every day.
I was writing every day, every afternoon. I wasn't.
That level of discipline you cultivated.
Yeah, it was a bit amazing, but I did it. So every day I was writing. So that's why I was able to finish. If I had put it down, I think it could have been just like the first ones I had started and never finished. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So then it's always advised that you get maybe a person you trust to read through for you. Mm-hmm. Not somebody who's going to discourage you or laugh at you, but somebody you think will say, okay, this is a good story. Or somebody says, it's a good story, but the other, there's like a hole, it gets disconnected here and there. So get somebody you trust to read through for you. And then when you think you have finished, still don't trust yourself. Read through. Because there are some people who write, and then these days we have the laptops. So you print and you think you have finished. So when you print the first time, read through.
Yeah.
Read through and revise. You revise like twice. You do the correction, then you revise. You do it again. At the same time, you have somebody to read through for you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so if you do that, then you're likely to produce something good.
Yeah, and I feel like the good thing about these tips is that they apply to all writers, no matter the level you're at, whether you're a beginner or you're intermediary or you're already an emerging writer or even an established writer. The tips are still the same. You need to be disciplined. You need to have a routine. You need to read. You need to observe everything. They all apply.
Yeah.
And then I want us to just circle back to something that you said about Heinemann, them rejecting your book back then because it was moralistic. Because later on in the conversation, you said something that made me understand what I think they meant. Because you said that you wanted to write a book that had a message, so that when people are done reading it, that this is what they take away from the book. That, say, like for Helen, that if you want instant gratification, these are the possibilities. This is what could happen. And I think that because also the book has also religious connotations.
Yeah.
And also I know that you're Christian, so for you it was important for what you believe, your values, to also come through in what you are writing. Yeah, so I don't know if I'm correct in my interpretation of Heinemann and their morals, because I mean they gave us amazing books with the series, which we all love. And yeah, am I on the right track with my interpretation?
Yeah, you're
Okay.
right.
Okay.
They could see that this person has maybe a Christian flavor to it. So, and they didn't want that.
Yeah.
They wanted, something like Things Fall Apart.
Yes.
It's not Christian
Yes.
at all. It's just a story.
Yeah.
Very good story, well written. Although it is talking about the spirituality of the people. But for them, they don't mind about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it is giving history of what those people were like.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay.
and all the other books that they published.
Yes, all the others that were published under them. All right. So now that you're again currently selling the book by yourself, what are the selling points in Kampala? And in Uganda, not even just Kampala. We always talk about Kampala like it's the country instead of Uganda. Where can someone find the book if they want to go back and read A Recipe for Disaster?
Yeah, all the bookshops
Okay.
should have the common bookshops in Kampala, like Angelina, Uganda Bookshop, and this Aristoc. They all have. They should have, unless they have run out of the copies. But I have somebody who goes around
Okay.
and checks on the what.
And then Upcountry, is it also available?
Yes, it's
Okay.
available in
Amazing.
Kampala. At least there's a Catholic bookshop where the book is sold. And in Bararam, I think should be in Adit.
Okay. And is there a plan to have e-copies available? Because now with the rise of e-books, I feel like that's a plan. Everyone needs to plan for an e-book version of their book. I don't know if now that you're celebrating the 30 years of the book, is that also in the works?
Yeah,
Okay.
that is in the works.
Okay.
Actually, it will be there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
And for people who are abroad and don't have relatives coming to Uganda to buy the book for them, is the ebook
For now.
for now? Is the ebook the way? Is that a solution?
Yeah,
Will
it
the
is.
ebook be a solution? Okay.
It should soon be available.
Okay. Awesome. Imagine that. Did you ever, when you're writing back then, did you ever think that there would be ebook versions?
No. Oh my God, I told you I was writing by hand, and I didn't think internet had really reached here. I remember internet, talking about internet towards the end of the 90s, like 98, 99 there.
Wow.
I think, and then then we would go to the internet cafes and send an email. When were we sending an email? Wasn't it in 2000 and something? Things have been moving very fast.
Yes.
Yeah, so I don't think I even had that in mind. Even these phones, these mobile phones, they were, I remember they were introduced to Uganda, I think, was it 95? We didn't have them.
Wow.
But even worldwide, I think it was a new thing. Because normally for me, I judge from looking at the films. When you see it not in the film,
Yeah.
because in the older films you see them picking the phone, the landline.
Yes.
But these ones now come later.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I know that they were not also so much there.
Okay. And do you have any parting words? Because my questions are done.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Do you have any parting words for anyone who's listening, or anything from a writer to the audience? I don't know.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank those who have read my book and have liked it. I know that there are some people who have called me and told me, but even those who have not, I would like to thank them for that, for having read the book. And secondly, I'm asking that you will look out for our celebrations, and if you can, you will join, and in any way that that is possible. I would like to hear from as many people as possible. It would be something that I would like to have, and some people I will approach them so that they go in the documentary. Now, having said that, I always want to encourage people to write, because really, in Uganda and in Africa, we are lagging behind in that area, of writing. We don't record, and we don't record through writing, because when you write a story, it has it is connected to the current events. It is connected to life. It has some bit of culture. So if it's a good book, it will tell you something about the country. But now, like some of us who were there in the 70s, you find somebody comes and tell you something outrageous, and you know that it cannot be true. But I know why. Because
You were there.
I was there.
Yes.
But so I feel that I owe it to the nation. I owe it to myself that people should know about these things. And through our writing, you can write. I'm glad that I've had a few friends who are interested in writing their biographies. So that is very good for me. I encourage it. And there are like 2 or 3 people now who are talking to me about it. They want to write books and they want me to read through for them.
Oh,
and some
that's
of them,
amazing.
So that one I like it very much. Please let us do that. And give yourself time so that you write. If your father or your mother you want to write about them. If you can write fiction, you write fiction. If you can write poetry, write poetry. So that, and be published, so that we can have as many books. And another thing, when we look at the curriculum is going to make somebody cry. You find Kenyan books, especially A level, even O level. I don't think we still have things fall apart. We still have the PAL. There is another book from West Africa actually, which I submitted on behalf of somebody called Grief Child. All those are not Ugandan books. Where are we? Well, I mean, where is the Ugandan? Where is the Ugandan book that is really showing the life in Uganda? If things fall apart is about, it's a pre-colonial time, but you can write something new, something that is post-colonial. Yeah. So let us not be carried away in so many other things. We can also have time to write. Yeah, and there are people who have a bit of experience and they can always help you here and there. And as I said, be humble. When you write something, don't think that you have written perfectly. Yeah. Be ready to get a little bit of criticism and go back and do it.
A little bit? I feel like you should expect any amount of criticism. Once you go into the journey of creating anything.
Don't publish something that where you're going to waste your time and money. Have somebody who will be able to read through for you and give you constructive criticism. That you can. So let us be concerned that really, when you look at these Europeans and Americans, my goodness, the books. I can't. Sometimes I just think now we are just joking. We need to write. We need to write. We need to write, and even history books. Write a textbook.
Okay.
Because people are coming out and defending what was happening before in the 60s, in the 70s, but you don't know. Because now I stand here and I imagine I have no book to read. I don't have a book to read. And when you go there, you find there is a book which has been written by a white man, a white woman. So now, what's wrong? Uganda is known for its good education system. Makerere was the first. The first college or the first university one. It was better than this. Nairobi's came later. Nairobi University and Dar es Salaam University, Makerere. That's where there was, Ngugi wa Thiong'o was at Makerere.
Yes.
And then there was, that's how I came to know that lady. They were writing about, there was a big conference in 1962 in Uganda. Because
always talked about
because Uganda was sort of ahead. But of course we had problems, political problems, but we can't pick up. We can't live in the past. So much as I also talking to myself.
Of course. I mean, you have two books, two novels that you're working on. So we look forward to those. You said something about wanting to hear from people who have read your book, and now that it's celebrating 30 years, you want to get their feedback and whatnot. So should people send you emails? Should they contact you, I don't know, on our website to just share their feedback, saying, hey, Rachel, and I read your book in I don't know which year, and these are my thoughts on it. Would you like that? Would you be okay with me sharing your email with people and encouraging them to?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
That will be fine.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Lillian. It's been amazing talking to you. And the last time I was here, I was interviewing Goriti Kiomhendo, and she told a story of how someone met her, and someone younger who was reading also her book, The First Daughter, in high school, and she was shocked that Goriti was still alive. Like,
Okay. Yeah.
how are you still alive? Your book was read so many years ago.
Yeah.
So I feel like that may be the same for you, where
the same.
someone is, people still get worry, people doubt. Wow. Okay, people, please know that Lillian is alive and well. And this year in September, the book will be celebrating 30 years. So look out for that information to see how to join in the celebration. Thank you for listening in. And remember to subscribe to the podcast and share with friends and family. Follow us on X at AuthorMate and on IG at Meet Your Author Podcast for a bookish ride.